Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has apologised for the deaths of 85 people in the 2004 Tak Bai massacre. She issued that apology a day before the statute of limitations lapses on the 20-year-old case.
ก็จริงๆตัวดิฉันเองในฐานะนายกรัฐมนตรีในวันนี้เนี่ยก็รู้สึกเสียใจกับเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นนะคะเป็นอย่างมากแล้วก็ต้องขอโทษในนามของรัฐบาลด้วยนะคะว่าก็จะทำให้ดีที่สุดนะคะว่าไม่ให้เกิดเหตุการณ์แบบนี้ขึ้นอีกนะคะ
The Council of State says an extension on the statute is no longer possible. This means murder charges against 7 suspects will be dropped. On the 25th of October 2004, 78 people suffocated to death after being stuffed into an army truck with their hands tied behind their backs during a military crackdown on insurgents in the town of Tak Bai. That's in the southern province of Narathiwat. On the same day, security forces opened fire on a crowd of protesters outside a police station, killing 7. 7 officials, including a former army commander who has since been elected to parliament, were charged for the deaths, but have all managed to avoid appearing in court. UN rights experts have said they were extremely alarmed that this case was closing with no one ever being put on trial. Joining us in studio this evening to talk this through, to better understand this case, CNA Thailand's Saksith Saiyasombut. Thanks for coming in this evening, Saksith. Now, this apology we just heard there by Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, saying she's very sorry and she will do my best not to let something like this happen again. You've been on the ground, you filed reports on this. Is this likely to satisfy people who are unhappy with the government's response?
Not at all. I think it feels like that is too little too late at this point. 20 years after this incident happened in Tak Bai in the south of Thailand. When we were there, when we were producing a CNA correspondent episode that aired this week, it is also now online on YouTube and on the CNA website. The families of those victims, one of the questions that I posed to them was, what is that you need? What is what the people of the South need in regards to this 2004 incident in Tak Bai? And yes, some have said an apology by the government would be one thing, but many of them they said they only need one thing, and that's justice, and something that is still being elusive, that still hasn't happened yet, especially now that we have only hours to go until this case expires.
All right. In the pursuit of justice, and we mentioned 7 suspects. In fact, cases in August and September finally saw murder charges being brought against not just 7, but 14 men. Now, with just hours to go before the statute of limitations lapses, this is not going to happen. Why have they not been brought to justice? Now,
let's break down these 2 cases here. We have a civil suit that has been accepted by a court in Narathiwat province, the province in southern Thailand where this incident happens. This was filed by the families of the victims. And also the other case that you are referring to, that has been brought up by the prosecutor, but that hasn't reached the court stage yet. In any case, all these former security officials that you have mentioned, they have all arrest warrants against them. And yet, they still have evaded the law. They have successfully avoided to stand trial. And according to police officials that have been giving testimony to a parliamentary committee earlier this month, they have said that all of them are out of the country. They have simply fled the country. They have skipped town and have successfully managed to dodge these cases here. And then of course you would have people asking, so why did it take so long until almost like the literal 11th hour until we get to there? Well, some people have been saying that the government has paid compensation back in the day, about 10 years ago, even though there was a successor government. And there has been the suggestion of some analysts saying that it had detracted the families from pursuing legal measures. But in any case, there's also a change in the political atmosphere that we have. Thailand has different forms of government. We are now currently under a nominal electoral democracy. So this might have been a factor why they have been now seeking justice at the last minute.
All right. I'll return to your answer to the first question, which was the need for justice, the need to be seen that security forces or police cannot act with impunity. We talk about the 85 people who died 20 years ago. In fact, more than 7,600 have died in insurgencies in the last 20 years. What would we need to see? Apology, justice, people brought to trial for this insurgency to finally see some kind of resolution?
No, all of the above and then some, I would say that, and that's probably not enough. As you mentioned yourself, we're not only talking about a separatist insurgency conflict in southern Thailand that has been going on for 20 years. It has been going on for much longer than this, but we are limiting it to 20 years because this has been the most intense phase that we are seeing right now. Even though the number of incidents and the number of casualties has dropped in the last decade, but we have seen more incidents, also more deadly incidents in the past couple of weeks leading up to this anniversary. And there's the fear, there's the concern, not only of security officials, but of people actually living in those areas, that we could be going back to darker days, that if impunity prevails and if this Tak Bai case expires with no one being charged, that the insurgents or other people that have a gripe against the government could be using this incident and could be using the impunity that has happened over it, not only to air their grievances, but also as a recruitment tool for other would-be insurgents. And of course, this would hamper the peace process that has been already going on at a very glacial pace as well. So, 20 years on, so many different governments, so many different prime ministers that we have gone through, even though they have some apologies even before Prime Minister Paetongtarn's one. There has been even one by her father, Thaksin, who was in government while this incident happened. He did that just a couple of years ago while he's already out of office. So this doesn't seem to be enough at all. And as I said before, it seems to be now that we are going to midnight later tonight here in Thailand and also everywhere else, that it's too little too late. And unfortunately, it seems to be that we are not looking at justice delayed. It looks to be that the justice going to be denied.
Thanks. Saksith Saiyasombut throwing light on a case that has slipped out of the headlines, but we can see why it still needs to be resolved even 20 years on. Thanks. CNA's Thailand's Saksith Saiyasombut in studio with us.